host, Erich Mauff, co-president, Jushi, on the Dales Report. I want to talk about, well, some of the stores that I've got a chance to sit down with your team, but some of these stores are generating as much as $1.3 million on a per month basis. So again, I go back to the question, how do you find these right locations and what really stands out to you before entering into a transaction like that?
Yeah, so I think, the stores in Illinois are good examples. I think there's a lot that goes to be said by having main on main in big cities. I mean, we've done that in Pennsylvania. We have 3 stores in downtown Philadelphia, which we think in an adult use world are going to do incredibly well.
Yep.
But they're also, if you know the limited license markets, which we know that is the case in Illinois, if you can be, as we are in Bloomington, Normal, middle of the state where all the universities are, we have one of one. When we open the second in that region, we'll be one of 2. There is a process of additional retail coming on board, and there will be an additional. So there will be 3 stores in this entire zone.
Right.
Our nearest competitor is 45 minutes. And moving early, getting the best real estate and establishing a name makes you very powerful. So these are all things that, again, when you look for something, you're looking for something with moats around it.
Right.
You're looking for something where you can establish the early mover advantage and where you can become big and very dominant early. This is nothing strange to investing, and that is the same approach that we've taken here. We try and put our stores in the best places. We're thoughtful around it, and we try and make sure that they have some real statistical advantages that over time will be difficult to break down.
Erich, I want to talk to you about the banking, regulations in the U.S. And, let's be honest, it has stunted the industry's growth over the last couple of years. But when the industry overcomes that challenge, what does day one look like?
Well, first of all, many people say that's a challenge in the industry. I think that's partly why we started Jushi.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the beauty of investing early in cannabis in the U.S. is it's literally impediments like this that have stopped competition coming in and allowing us to build an unbelievable franchise at pricing that in 5 years will look ludicrously low. But when you talk about a reform on banking, what does it look day one? I think it's not going to be that great. I mean, it's going to take these banks a long time to get themselves comfortable, no matter what the regulation changes are. You know how slow post the 2008 and 9 crisis. Banks have not become, let's say, more nimble. They've only become even more regulatory constrained and bound. Yep. So I think, if you get a change, this probably takes a good 12 months before you really start to see. They'll have to do KYC on these companies. A bunch of them are going to fail. A lot of these companies are private. They're going to have to then, do their diligence. Are we, just the KYC alone on a cannabis company is going to take a long time. So I think it's a great thing. We want it to happen. I think it's critical. I think you want your customers to be able to pay with credit cards. You want your customers to be able to access your facility without having to come in with cash. So I think there's a lot of positives. I think it's going to be great for the consumer. How it affects us operationally, I think it's going to be a while before I get a $1 billion line from JP Morgan.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. However, at the same time, too, if the banking regulations do open up, tremendous opportunities to be uplisted on, say, some of the bigger U.S. stock exchanges. You can't talk enough about that. What does that do for your company?
Look, I think that would be fantastic. I mean, I think it's even less uplifting. It's just allowing the average American buyer the opportunity to come in. It's none of the big U.S. institutions cover us. That means none of their brokers are recommending us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just think getting that exposure would be great for their industry. We don't spend a lot of time on that. We spend all of our time thinking at this right now. We think it's a buying opportunity. We just did that with Vireo. We're continuing to look for assets. We think we have a strong balance sheet. We have the best M&A team. We understand risk. For us, I'm not going to have any involvement or effect on how quickly or slowly this happens. But right now, in my view, is when you should be building your business. You should be buying great assets right now. You should be opening stores. You should be managing those stores well, because the opportunity is building that business while these impediments are in place, while it's hard for my competitors to raise financing, while my competitors have blown up their balance sheets and are effectively insolvent. That's where Jushi, as a distressed vehicle with a wonderful operating company, is a very unique opportunity. And I want to make one more point, because someone asked me this the other day. They said, well, isn't there massive competition for these distressed assets? Well, let's take PA as an example. You'll love this one. So you're only allowed one grower processor in PA. So Cura, PA, Cresco, PA, GTI, PA, TerraSend, PA.
Yep.
So there's maybe TrueLeaf, Air Strategies, maybe one or two others, and there are at least 10 of those licenses available for sale. So ironically, being small and nimble a little later than the big people became big allows you to buy. The same as in Massachusetts. They're all in Massachusetts. There are endless number of people wanting to sell in Massachusetts, but you can only buy one license. You can only have 3 dispensaries, 1 grower and 1 processor. So that means if you're not there, but you have money, you're in a great position. So I think it's been really an incredible, people don't get that. People think that everyone's chasing these markets. I mean, right now, the big people are in Florida, meaning the other licenses in Florida, I mean, you could buy one and they're not nearly the price they used to be. So I think it's been an interesting strategy to be well capitalized, deep in critical markets, then allowing you to go and look at assets that you know that the biggest, best funded companies can't buy because they're limited up already.
Right. Erich, any talk about the state of Texas? You got 30 million people there. Like, that's a tremendous opportunity, is it not?
It is. You know, we've looked very hard at Texas. We've actually looked at a couple of licenses. There are only 3. The problem with Texas is just not sure how quickly that's going to turn. And so right now, to buy on the hope that something happens is just not as attractive as buying a GP in Pennsylvania that's operational and accretive to the bottom line day one. It doesn't mean we won't look at it. I think there's a huge opportunity. It's just velocity of capital. I mean, that's something we spend a lot of time talking about. How long do you want to sit on something that you know one day will be a great market? The question is, when does one day come? Like, if you weren't in Illinois, just think about what you've missed. Or you weren't scale in Illinois Jan 1. You've missed this, probably the greatest expansion of P&L that your company could have wanted. If you're not big in PA, if you're not big in Florida, which is a market we're not in, but it's very easy sitting on an out the money option that you paid a lot for in Texas that may have a decent medical program in 2023 and may become adult use in 2026. I mean, it's just not a good place for velocity of capital, specifically with capital being so damn difficult to get.
Erich, the last few things I wanted to ask you, one is, the state of Pennsylvania, strong footprint, as we said earlier in the interview, about your presence currently in that state. What does the opportunity present to you if and when the state does go rec?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on the political process because it's cumbersome and lots of variety around how the outcome will happen. But I feel the following. One, Pennsylvania has a budget deficit due to COVID that they have not had in historically. So I think that's going to be a big driver. Clearly, the jobs and the job growth that we could create if adult use were to come in place is in the thousands, the infrastructure spend. So I feel very positive that a lot has happened in the last 6 or 7 months that's pushing strongly towards that. It's also a state where, well over 50% of people polled are in favor of adult use. So I think it's on the docket. I think it will happen, and it will clearly be fantastic for our business. That said, I think it's really important, Chad, to point out, our Pennsylvania business is a great business. It's going to be EBITDA positive. It's going to be cash flow positive without anything changing. All of our projections that you're seeing, everything we tell the market, we do not anticipate in those projections things happening. Those are as is. So a medical market is a medical market. Rec market clearly is a rec market. So, we are strong proponents of it. We are supportive, but we are not building the business on, anticipation of things happening.
Good to know. Last thing I wanted to ask you is something that cannot be overlooked is that the industry was deemed as an essential business recently. So saying that, I want to talk a little bit about your online presence and your online ordering system. It's state of the art. What are you seeing, I guess, through this pandemic as far as that business side? And why do a lot of people look at your online ordering system as one of the premier platforms currently being used in the cannabis space?
Shad, you started off by saying, you guys have a wonderful management team and great people. Here's
Yeah.
another example. We hired Andreas Newman. Andreas is a veteran of advertising, Silicon Valley, photography, filmmaking.
Interesting.
He's deeply passionate. He brought a team, a professor in user experience, a great analytics team to build sites. So when you bring someone like that who has done this before in other industries with deep domain expertise, what do you get? You get beyondhello.com, our online ordering platform, which in COVID was perfectly timed, because here was a time when people didn't want to spend long in stores. So you were able to go online, see our products, order it, allowing for you to efficiently and quickly get to our store. Luckily, the state allowed curbside delivery in both states.
Yep.
So you could either get it at curbside or you could come into the store, and with social distancing and all the issues, we were able to service our patients. So again, you will see fantastic stuff coming out of us because we've got a Silicon Valley based, highly technical team with capabilities that just no one else thought about having. But I don't understand how you don't build a modern business that has a wonderful unity and a seamless experience, brick and mortar through online.
Yeah,
not to mention the data, big data that we are collecting, understanding what people want to buy and not buy. So, we thought that was just such an important part of the business. We brought in the best possible team, and it's just really been another rocket ship of growth in Jushi.